minutes. I'm here just for you to be the community leader of the Generate series. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you know what to do. Like, share it, click it, tag somebody, like it, leave a comment. I'm here today with James Hodges, who is the CEO and head coach of Next Level Coaches. And James, let's just get right into it, man. When we got introduced, you helped me change my mindset of like, hey, Scott, take a step back, slow down. It's all just not about leads. It's about setting up systems, because you're currently growing your third, 7-figure business that you're going to exit at some point in the future. And I'm jealous that you take 1 month or 1 week off a month. And I'm jealous that you take a 2-week vacation where your phone and everything is completely off once a quarter, due to the fact that you have set up these teams and systems and workflows. And like, you're one of those entrepreneurs who's actually gotten their life back. So what did I miss in the introduction? And what do we need to know about systems for those people that are lead generating like a beast right now?
Yeah, the only thing you missed is I'm not Australian. I'm from New Zealand. So I just want to make that very clear. And yeah, let's get into it. We got 20 minutes. So let's be as supportive to you guys as possible. If you guys have questions throughout, feel free to share. We're just here to serve you guys as much as possible. So there's this myth. You guys are in this group because you want to generate leads, right? You want to create clients. You want to create the income, the impact, and the freedom that you want for your life. And so in order to do that, you believe that you need more leads. And that's true. You can always have more leads. And for 99% of businesses, until they've built the right systems, the first thing they need to do is not actually to bring in more leads. So I just want to say that again. The first thing to do is actually not to bring in or create more leads. So the first thing that we want to do is actually have a really solid understanding of what is our framework to support our clients. And so if you guys are in this group, you're probably a loan officer, you're a real estate agent, you're a coach, you're a business owner. There's a high probability that you're in a service-based business. And so for a service-based business, it's pretty similar across the board. You have basically your marketing, like attracting someone in the first place, then coming across you, having some form of an awareness, then starting to consume perhaps some content or finding out more about you. And then at some point they jump on a phone call with you, and then you enroll them or you sell them into your service, or get them to buy a loan or whatever purchase a loan through you, however it works, buy a house as a real estate agent, and then you fulfill, right? And so it's basically, I call it attraction and enrollment, and then service, or engage, enroll, and empower. Those are kind of the 3 key areas. And so if you're watching this, I would encourage you to write down, what is your customer journey? How does your client come across you? What are the different phases every step of the way, from first touch point to getting on the phone with you, to what is their decision-making process, to how do they actually buy? Then once they buy, how do you actually fulfill? And so creating like a little diagram, even if you're a salesperson, if you're into generating leads, systems is probably not your thing. It's probably not your favorite, like zone of genius, totally get that. It wasn't mine either. I kind of like taught myself, and now it's like systems are sexy. We get to embrace them. They just create amazing life for us. And so create those like different key points, and then say, okay, what are the things that I'm doing over and over and over and over and over again throughout this customer journey? And if I could start to streamline some of these key pieces, how could that save me a bunch of time, which I'll now have more time to go out and generate more growth and create more clients? So I'll just pause for a second, but you're on mute, my man.
Sorry, I'm going to get a bumper sticker made for you that says "Systems are sexy." Like
that t-shirt. It's already happening.
Okay, we're going to get a t-shirt made for James that says "Systems are sexy." I'm guessing you're like a schmedium, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah, medium, yeah.
Okay, I got to go with a medium t-shirt that says "Systems are sexy." And explain that to me, systems are sexy, because I know, as a salesperson, every bit of training we got going all the way back to the Washington Mutual days when I started there 20 years ago at the bank to, whatever. I could just give a laundry list of sales coaches who are like, no, you gotta do sales in this high trust manner, or you got to do sales in this, flow manner, or you got to do Facebook ads, or you got to do this. And you're saying, hey, none of that really matters until you have your systems in place. So talk a little bit why that's so important, right? Because like my thought process before meeting you a couple of years ago would have been like, oh, well, nothing happens until a lead is generated. So go generate all the leads you can, and then you'll figure out the rest. But you're saying if you're a business person, you got to start with the systems. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we always want to think is like, what is the one thing that we should focus on first? What is the 80-20, right? 20% of our effort to get 80% of results. And by the way, Systems of Success, I just want to shout out 2X, one of my mentors, Austin Netzley, got that idea from him. So I don't want to like say it was like fully my idea. But in terms of focusing on systems first, you already have a ton of leads. Like, let's just go through this as an example. If you've been at this game for a little while, you're not just completely starting from scratch. You already have a plethora of leads, right? Current clients, past clients, referrals, anyone you've ever had a conversation with who's in your network, conversations where they didn't buy from you. If you like literally were going and wrote down like a list, you could probably come up with 100 to 200 people of people who could actually buy from you, right? So there's your freaking leads. So those leads, if you nurture them right and you come up with a really good personalized game plan and really reach out to them the right way, that's enough leads to get you sorted for a while. And understanding like what is the process and what's happening at different stage, this helps you to free up your time. And time is a way more valuable resource than money, right? Time goes, it's gone. Money goes, you can create more. So the most important thing is to free up your time and make sure you're focused on the right times. And so optimally, you're focused on growth generating activities. If you're a real estate agent, if you're a loan officer, whatever you are focused on, your time is your most precious asset, and you want as much time as possible focused on growth. And so before we go and pump in leads, I love pumping in leads. I'm doing a whole ton of that right now. Don't get me wrong. But we want to make sure that we've got fulfillment dialed so we can handle all those leads. We want to make sure we've got onboarding. We want to make sure that our marketing's dialed, right? That our sales process is dialed. Every process is dialed before we go and pump in a bunch of leads. And to get started to bring in some cash injections, current clients, past clients, referrals, case studies of people who've had success with you, and anyone you've ever spoken to in your network. Those are the first 5 things that you do to bring in leads.
But James, I saw that for just $99 a month, somebody's going to give me a Facebook funnel that provides all the leads I'll ever need. Like, the online marketing is a joke. But
totally.
Okay, so let's say you kind of understand this conceptually or subconsciously. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. I've had some breakdowns in my lead flow, or I've had some, my conveyor belt of producing a widget has broken down a few times. I accept the fact, James, that I probably need better systems, but that's just not my thing. I don't know where to start. Like, I'm not going to read another business book. What's the lowest lying fruit for a business owner, an entrepreneur, or just a, fully commissioned salesperson who maybe doesn't have all the control because they work for a bigger company? Like, if I'm just a sole producer, where do I starting to think of my system? Like, what's the low lying fruit you would recommend people like start here and then start chunking away?
Yeah. So when you look at your flow of like attracting in clients and then enrolling clients and then serving your clients, right? Like, you may not have to do a lot of the fulfillment. If you're like a loan officer, there's only so much you have to do, and then it's like, it's taken care of. But maybe there's, an onboarding process that's in there, or maybe like, where is the time that outside of like actually growing your business, where do you spend the most time, right? Is it dealing with admin? Is it replying to email? Is it doing personal chores? What are you doing over and over and over and over again? And so you don't have to be a systems genius to figure this out. You could get a whiteboard or just pen and paper, or even your computer or even your phone, and just literally write down, what is my customer journey? And if I was to like look at my customer journey, what are the different components? And where do I spend the majority of my time? And if my time is not being spent on growing my business, where is it being spent? And so wherever that is being spent, then you figure out, okay, what could I do differently here to help systematize this? And so if you guys are already doing well and you're bringing in cash, the best thing you can do is to hire someone who's at a much lower rate than you to start doing those things for you. So if you're a loan officer and you're making over 250K a year, I know 250K for loan officers is like kind of like a key peak. And then you go, once you hit 250, then you're like, all right, I want to get to $1 million, right? If you're making anything more than 100 grand a year, you figure out what is your hourly rate, right? So even if you're making 100 grand a year, what's your hourly rate? Like 30 to 50 bucks an hour, something like that, right? You can get someone in the Philippines or off onlinejobs.ph, so onlinejobs.ph, like $3 to $5 an hour, which is 10x less than what your time is worth to come and actually do some of the work for you and free up some of the admin BS or whatever it is. Like for me, I'm never in my email. I have built out a system for my VA to handle my email, so I'm never caught up in responding in email, ever. And if I get something they can't answer, they share it with me in our Slack, but I want to check that once or twice a day. So for you, the easiest thing is to write it out. Where is your time being spent? Could it be systematized, delegated, or just cut out completely? Where should your time be focused, and try and build a system so you can get your time focused on growing your business and to generate leads.
Well, I will play devil's advocate here because I know somebody's rolling their eyes and they're just saying, oh, but James, you don't understand. My business is so complicated. I could never have a virtual assistant or an executive assistant respond for me. I've got corporate compliance. I can't let anybody else touch my email. I'm so smart. I'm the only person that could possibly sound like me in my email. One, if you want to debunk that, or two, maybe just give us some ideas on other areas where that virtual assistant or that executive assistant or that personal assistant, whether they're in person or in the Philippines, where can they add value and start to let us get our time back?
Yeah, totally. So the first thing you want to do is do a remove, delegate, systematize exercise. So step one, create a customer journey, understand what are the components in that, and are there places that you could start to build different frameworks. The second thing you want to do is a remove, delegate, systematize. So actually just go over your calendar and look at where do you spend all your time, and then go write down all those tasks and how much time per week you're spending doing those tasks, and then say, could I remove this? Could I delegate this? Or could I systematize this? Right? So that's the first piece. So even like grocery shopping, right? You could just go on Amazon and create the same list every week because you probably consume most of the same foods, right? And then if there's any changes, just message your VA and be like, hey, we're going to change this. And then they order it and it shows up at the same time every week. Boom, you save 2 to 3 hours to go to the grocery store every week. And you may not even want to go to the grocery store right now with everything that's happening, right? But if you're constantly going back and reordering, that's one example. There's probably 10 for each of you. Every client who works with us gets usually 5, 10, 15 hours a week back in the first month, just from some smarter systems and smarter processes. And when it comes to email, absolutely, there's probably some emails that corporate compliance and stuff you would want to reply to. I totally get that. And there's probably a bunch of fluff and other crap that you're just like in reactionary mode too. And so having a VA filter what's important and what's not, so you only see the stuff that's important, because it's about your time, but it's also about being proactive and not just constantly pinging and being reactive and putting out fires and just being busy work all the time. It's about being strategic, about being proactive and focused in your zone of genius. The more emails that you see, the more that you are responding to other people, the more reactive you are, the less you're in your zone of genius, the less creative you be, the less you show up on sales calls, the less you show up in enrollment calls, the less you can enroll people because you're sucked down and bogged down in BS details that aren't important that you could have someone else looking after.
Yeah, as you're speaking, I'm thinking of something I dealt with right before I got on this call is, somebody wanted, they just couldn't understand an impound account. So on your mortgage, you have an impound account, it pays your taxes and insurance out of that. I've had that conversation 500 times, and that's probably being generous. I've probably had that conversation thousands of times. Why don't I just have a video that explains, hey, here's an impound account, here's the visual breakdown, watch this real quick, and if you still have questions, let's jump on for 5 minutes. Then that's a 5-minute phone call instead of a 20-minute phone call. But you know how it goes. Us entrepreneurs, we get addicted to the reaction, we get addicted to the grind and the hustle. And then the farthest thing from our mind is that we can possibly take half an hour out of the day in order to, film a video that will save us hundreds of hours over our career. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, how do you encourage your coaching clients to find time to work on the systems? How do they schedule it out? Like, how does somebody get started if they're like, oh, you just don't understand, James. I'm already working 50, 60 hours a week. I have no time to make time for myself.
Totally. So first of all, I just shared a document that you can share with your group in the Facebook thread. It's called Planning Your Week Like a Pro. So that's really awesome. But we actually led a call around worthiness and value earlier today. And that was a really cool call because the idea of not having enough time is a false scarcity constraint that we put on ourselves, saying we don't have enough time. right? And I understand, right? It's like, I got like 20 plus people in our surrounding team, and
Right.
a whole bunch of clients. Like, I get it. I've got a girlfriend. I've got 7 people living in my house. I understand the time thing. And if we move from this idea of being reactive to being proactive, and we start to build muscle of discipline around that, everything in our life changes, and we can actually really just enjoy and be in good flow and create everything we want to create. And so the time that I recommend is actually, the metaphor I love is sharpening the axe, right? So basically, I think it was Abraham Lincoln. He said, if I was going to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe and only an hour chopping down the tree. And so the recommendation I would have, this has been one of the biggest shifts in my life, is spending an hour or 2 on a Sunday or on a Friday or first thing Monday, whatever works for you. I like Sunday, planning your week for the next week, and actually look back over the past week and say what worked, what didn't, what could be improved, right? And then using that knowledge to then go into the next week to improve, and then actually planning stuff out into time chunks, saying certain days of the week I will do certain things. Like I know with Scott, Thursdays is like a big coaching day for him, right? Every other day is like focused on loans and growing his loan business. Amazing, right? And so for you guys is like, when do you chunk different activities? Because you want to stay in the same kind of energy or the same kind of focus depending on what kind of things you're doing. If you're in like email for compliance and spreadsheets, and then it's like you want to be speaking to humans, they're 2 very different focus points. One's very analytical, the other's like very extrovert, right? So planning your week and then blocking off an hour or 2 every week just to figure out, how do I get some time back? How can I systematize? How can I do that? It only needs to be 5 or 10% of your week, if that. But add that up and stack it over 3 to 6 months, and you have a completely different life.
Yeah, it's interesting with the scheduling and looking at your calendar, you're reminding me that, the most successful loan officers I know, they say, hey, I take applications from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And they have their strategic ways to get clients to fit into that box. And then the other loan officers I know, they're on the border of having a stroke. They're like, I'll take a call anytime. I don't want to lose a realtor. I don't want to lose a potential deal. I've got to be available. Johnny on the spot, 24/7. I always pick up my phone. And maybe you can speak a little bit into that idea of like, the people that are actually running their business like in a business clearly have an abundance mindset or whatever catchphrase you want to use. The people that are terrified to miss a call, they're operating in a different headspace. Maybe you can speak a little to that. And then of course, if you're watching this on Facebook and you see somebody, or you're watching this on YouTube, share this video if there's somebody that needs to be hearing this about having more systems and kind of getting their stuff in order to scale. Because that's what it's all about, right? More leads without more production and more closing doesn't really matter. It's just leads. So James, maybe you can speak a little bit to that scarcity, the person that's taking a call anytime it comes in versus like, no, I run a business and I have a calendar.
Yeah. So there's always mindset and models, right? So the models is like, how do you build the systems, like blah, 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 right? And so for a lot of people, for salespeople, like I said, it's not the zone of genius. Awesome. Let's figure out how we can find people as soon as possible so you don't have to do that. And you can be in your zone of genius. That's the point of having systems. It's amazing. And the second piece is mindset and models. So that's the model, is the structure, the system, but there's also the mindset around it. It's trusting that you're worthy enough where you can block off just certain amounts of time that people will fit around your schedule, that you're not going to be reactive to a real estate agent or to another party, that actually you are the king, you're the boss, you're the queen, whatever, and people will fit around your schedule. My experience is every time I have a schedule available and I'm very clear on like when it is available, people seem to be able to make it work, right? It's like, even if my schedule is super tight, we can find a way to make it work, right? And when you come from that frame of like, I'm the authority, I'm busy, I got a lot of stuff going on, this is when it is, people respect that. And if the timing doesn't work, then you can always try and figure it out and free it up. But it comes back to the reactive as proactive conversation. When you just have certain times for certain activities, just doing calls at certain times, you're in that flow, you're in that state. You just knock out like 5 or 6 calls in a row, boom, by the 6th call, you're just like in such a good flow, right? And then you can go and focus on other tasks. And so it's this structure and then the flow, the structure and then the flow.
Yeah, genius. I hear from a lot of loan officers like, hey, how do you get this much done? Or how do you scale to this? And it's like, I think you're right, just blocking out those times, because if I'm in the middle of a sales call and then I turn over here to email and I have to fight with an underwriter about a deal that's maybe having some challenges or has a little bit of hair on it. The last thing I want to do is go over here and be positive about making, the sales calls or the connection calls. It's like our brain just doesn't function that way. And I think one of the things that I've really admired about you is I never catch you multitasking. Like if you're engaged, you have the one document up that you want to share. And I struggle with this. There's so many tweets and bleeps and blips and emails and stuff. It's like, well, okay, James is on a rant. Let me go over here and respond to this email. Like that's what I feel I should be doing. So maybe just, last thought, and then we'll leave it at this. When you're trying to block out that time and work on stuff, how do you stay present, right? So you're working on systems, you're working on this Google Doc you just sent us, or you're in your mode of doing sales calls. Like, how do you personally stay present to whatever it is the number one task is that you're working on?
Yeah. First of all, believe you're worthy of of owning your truth, and that you're a leader, and that everyone else gets to fit around you. So you can create boundaries around that. That's the first piece, is just having that core belief. The second thing is removing all forms of reactivity. The only notifications I get on my phone is from WhatsApp, because my family and my girlfriend use that. But besides that, I get no text messages. I do get phone calls, but no other notifications come on my phone. I don't use email. My VA will send emails to Slack. I check Slack. I'm probably checking a little bit more than I want to right now, but I still want to check it a few times a day. And then I just respond to anything inside Slack, and that's it. So I'm not constantly getting pinged about different things. And I'm very clear. I use the productivity planner. I recommend you guys get one. I'm off Amazon. And I just focus on 3 to 5 tasks in a day. And then I just knock out the first one, and then the second and the third and the fourth. And I just say no a lot. I just delegate, and then I just say no unless it's really important.
That's awesome, man. And I just want to end on this. I don't bring anybody into this space or into this community who I personally wouldn't recommend or use or have paid money to. I've done all 3 of those things with you and Next Level Coaches. So if there is any coaches that are watching this, or there's leaders in different business areas that are looking to become better leaders and grow their coaching influence, where can you be found? What's the easiest way to get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah, so you can probably just send an email, which my assistant will respond to. James at next-levelcoaches.com, so you can see this.
Nice. Oh, I didn't even notice the self-promotion there. I love that, by the way. Yeah, James at next-levelcoaches.com. We got to find whoever owns Next Level Coaches and just buy it from them. So that's one of my goals, to make enough money with other people we can refer you, so that you can buy Next Level Coaches off of whoever owns it.
Yeah, get rid of the hyphen, exactly. And if you guys are a loan officer, you guys are in that space, if you guys are not already part of this man's group, he is just such a beast. We've been working together for about a month. And Scott is just creating such insane results for his clients. And he's also building out the most epic systems to get people to 250 and then from 250 to $1 million. So I cannot vouch for Scott more than enough either. He's just amazing at what he does and so passionate and getting amazing results for people. So if you feel like you want to create the income, the impact, and the freedom you want, Scott's your man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you. We're going to cut it there because I know you had exactly 25 minutes. Go enjoy your girlfriend, have your VA do stuff, and I'll catch you next week.
Thanks, man. Peace.
All right, talk soon.